Michel, good morning to you.
Hello, Francis. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can, Michel. And we're delighted to have you on. And we're waiting for a host, Ralph Shane from Speed Sport, who's going to be joining us any second. So thank you for, I know you have been busy this week because you're also testing.
Yes, it's been a very busy week and with personal commitments and sponsors. And we have our last race in Super Copa this week in Puebla. So yes, it's been it's a busy end of the year, and then going to Indy. We are also the Hoosier Tire racing tire distributors for Mexico. So we have the distributors meeting on Monday and Tuesday. So I'm after the race on Sunday, I go a little bit to the very short time to the banquet, then get a red eye to Chicago, drive to Indy Monday and Tuesday, and then PRI next week, and then come back and
Well,
hopefully gets easier.
while we wait for Ralph, you have many hats. You're a race car driver, you're a promoter, you're a distributor, you come from a family of racer. How do you manage all of that?
Well, I don't know. It's just hard. Just try to, have your to-do list and trying to get everything. Nowadays the world is quite hard. The world of racing, everything is busy, and you gotta have to do everything to make it. We believe we have a great product in Super Copa in Mexico. We were part of the Formula One Grand Prix. Together we did the Legends Cup race, which was a very big success. The distributor for the Hoosier Racing Tire is they are fantastic partners, and our main clients is Super Copa. We use the tires in the GTM cars, and also NASCAR Mexico uses our tire, and also different clients, and and with the driving, I think that's the one that takes the least amount of time for me. I become a race car driver like 15 seconds before I get in the car, and once I get off the car, 15 seconds, and I kind of forget about all that. So, but it's something cool that I enjoy doing it, and hopefully I can get to keep doing it many more years.
Well, you seem to be doing really well. You seem to be doing really well. And
well, Ralph is coming on any moment. So he said he's sorry for the delay.
Yes,
no problem.
We're going to carry on until Ralph comes in. And what was one of the things that was very important for us, Michel, is we really wanted to give Latin America and Central America a big place this year. So we featured Stock Car Brazil on Monday. We're going to feature Turismo Carretera tomorrow from Argentina. And we have you today talking about, because the racing activity south of the US border is tremendous. And having you there to tell us about what you're doing is extremely important for the industry. So why don't we start maybe a little bit back in your career, how you started, and then you evolve into being a promoter.
Well, I mean, how I got in racing, it's pretty much my whole family, like you previously said. I'm going to go all the way to the beginning. My family, my father's family came from Belgium. My dad was born over there, and my grandparents came to Mexico when my dad was, I believe, like 3 years old.
So on peut parler français. We can switch in French.
Rien. No, my dad forgot about no, my dad speaks a little bit, but I don't know why. When my parents got married, actually, my mom wanted to speak French in the family, but I think they were 9 brothers and sisters, and I think there was always somebody at their house, and in Mexico, and they felt I guess they felt bad about speaking in French in front of the Mexicans or something, and like for some reason he we lost that, and it's a big shame, you know, because like I raced in the WTCC with Oreca, my mechanics were French, you know, and I struggled a lot with the communication. By the end of the season, I was able to communicate a little bit, but then it was supposed to be a 3-year contract with SEAT Mexico, and they changed president and they moved. But yeah, the French, I wish I speak French and I spoke French and we could be doing this interview in French or both.
So
So I
anyway,
was telling you, yeah,
carry on.
I was going. They came, and you know my dad says that the little memories he has from Belgium is like on his video on his crib, looking at outside the window from a car from the neighbor, and one day the neighbor came and knocked on the door and told my grandparents, you know, hey, your son is always looking for something, and it was about the car, you know, and the only other thing he remembers is driving on my grandfather's lap, their steering wheel in Belgium. So, and when they came to Mexico, both my grandfather and grandmother's family, they had newspapers in Belgium. So when La Carrera Panamericana happened in Mexico from 1950 until 54, I believe it was, my grandfather was like a reporter, you know, so he took his kids to watch the race. And I mean, my dad was born in 47, you know, so he was really little then. And after that, it was just a matter of, you know, when he was 10 years old with his younger brother, he would go into the street and get a lift, you know, go to the races, you know, and wherever. And like this, it was for many years, started getting friends. And my grandfather didn't have the money to support them. And finally, my dad's first race was 20 when he was 20 years old, and he got somebody to help him. And from then on, you know, we've always been in racing. Two other brothers raced a lot, Jean-Pierre and Bernard, who he was also an IndyCar driver, IndyCar Rookie of the Year, and Indy 500 Rookie of the Year in 1989. There was they were 7 brothers and 2 sisters. There was one rally that the 7 brothers started. My mom's only brother was very good friends with my dad. He was also a race car driver. So that's how it all started. You know, I don't remember a life without racing. You know, for me, I guess I am like an Andretti or
Yeah,
an announcer. You know, so
that's what I was.
that
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You know, the Andretti's of Mexico.
yeah.
And
So I don't remember a life without racing. You know, with not going to the track or, you know, so it's, and after that my dad started actually promoting his first race in 1975. Racing at that moment in Mexico was doing not very good, and some people asked him to promote a race, and there was not many races. So for him it was also a matter of promoting races so he could race. And that was 1975, and 47, I guess, yes, 47 years later, we are still doing the same.
very good. So we are now joined by Ralph Sheehan. You're going to have a proper interview. So thank you, Ralph. I know you have been busy, and so you carry on.
Well, I'm glad I could finally jump on here. Hello, Michelle. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Ralph.
No idea what Francisque has talked to you about. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to start from and chat with you a little bit about some of what I was thinking. And hopefully it doesn't redo everything that Francisque already talked to you about. Can you explain a little bit to the folks that are listening what the series is all about?
Well, good. Yes, good to see you, Ralph, as well. We are promoting the Super Copa. You know, right now in Mexico, there is basically 2 national championships. A third one that it's like a little for endurance and Formula 4, but it's more like amateur. You know, 2 professional championships, NASCAR Mexico and Super Copa. Super Copa, you know, I spoke a little bit of my family background in racing and how it all started. You know, we were back when my dad promoted his first race, which was the first 24-hour race in Mexico. Actually, it was in Monterrey in 1975. And from then on, a lot of the championships my dad promoted was about a series with different classes, have many races during the day, shorter races. And that's basically what we've been doing all this time. And so we have 8 races per season, with 4 classes mainly that come to all the races. One is called GTM, which is based on a TA2 chassis built by How Racing. All the cars are the same. In TA2, they have, I believe, 3 different manufacturers. For us, it's the 4th. All the cars are the same. We put a Mercedes body, and of those cars, we have 16 cars, plus we have like I say it's like a DP1 and DP2 on the sports cars. We have the same, because from the same How cars, very, very similar chassis from TA2, just with a smaller engine, like a crate engine. And they built some cars in Costa Rica, but that series is not going anymore. So we got a lot of those cars. So right now we have like around 25 cars racing between both series. That's like the main main series for us. We have a semi-truck series that we did with Freightliner. My dad did his first semi-truck series was in the early 1990s with Dina, which is a Mexican truck manufacturer, but they went bankrupt in 1995, so that was done. But it was a huge success. I raced those before I went to IndyCar racing, and tracks were packed all the time. So we always had the thinking we need to bring the semi-trucks back, and we started those again in 2015 or 16, I believe, with Freightliner. It's a truck built in the Freightliner factory in Santiago Tianguistengo, like 100 miles away from Mexico City. But the basic of the trucks, the 2 rails, I don't know how you call the 2 rails for the front axle, rear axle, the transmission, and we put a 502 big block GMC engine, GM Performance, and we do the roll cage and fiberglass body, and it's huge success. We have the 12 trucks all ourselves, kind of like IROC or SRX, where we have all the 12 trucks ourselves, and people really, really love them and enjoy those races. It's a good noise, and the racing is always very, very close. We also have motorcycles, 600cc motorcycles racing with us, and we call it Formula 5. It's like a Formula V, the basic of a Formula V, but since those engines are so hard to come by nowadays, that we put an 1800cc water-cooled Volkswagen engine, and a body a little bit more modern, with a front and rear wing. So that's basically a little short, not so short story what the Super Copa Championship is all about.
That's a lot of variety. 2 wheels, 4 wheels, and huge wheels when you start talking about the trucks. Tell me a little bit about the car culture these days, and maybe not just cars, but motorcycles as well, the enthusiast scene in Mexico. What's popular? What's hot?
Well, I think in history, racing in Mexico has always been kind of big with bigger and lower moments, like I guess everywhere. Since the 60s with the Hermanos Rodriguez, Pedro and Ricardo, when they were in Formula One and sports cars. And then, it came down a little bit. Then Jose Legarza in IndyCar and Rebaque back in Formula One. Then like Adrian and myself and Mario Dominguez in the Champ Car days, but now with Checo Perez doing so good in Formula One, winning races, the Mexican Grand Prix is the biggest, by far the biggest sporting event in all of Mexico. and they do the promoters do a fantastic job. Now they won 5 years in a row the best Grand Prix of the year from the FIA. Now they stopped giving that award away, because I guess it would have stayed in Mexico forever, because they do a really, really good job. So that has helped, that so people are following racing a lot. And with the GTM car, I mean, we raced last year. I don't know if you saw that we had a legends race as a support race of Formula One. And it all started because I approached the guys from Formula One trying to see if the Super Copa, if we could race, and they said, okay. So when they were asking about the series and everything, and with Mario Dominguez and myself racing there, said, so it started like, hey, and what if we invite Adrian, and what if we invite the next one? And we got a fantastic group of guys. Paul Tracy came, Oriol Servia, Max Papis, Alex Tagliani, Mark Blondell, Bruno Junqueira. It was Casey Mears, and from Mexico, Adrian, Mario, myself, Luis Diaz, and Roberto Gonzalez, who just won the WEC LMP2 championship and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So it was a really, really cool event. And trying to what we're working, and it's been hard, with Checo Perez, and with the previous history of the Mexican drivers that have been successful in the US. It's good in some ways, but not so good in others, because we take all the sponsorship away, and what we are trying here with Super Copa is to get better, improve the Mexican industry, in racing. I know Francis spoke about that Stock Car Brazil was here, and I guess tomorrow Turismo Carretera will be here. And we, in a way, we are very similar countries to Brazil and Argentina, but we have the advantage and disadvantage of being right next to the US, because sometimes a small part you order and you can have in 2 days in Mexico, and they are so far away. It's kind of like Australia, they have developed a much bigger racing industry because they are so far away from everything. And so we hopefully we are, with the car, the GTM car, that it's mainly built, most of the components in the States. The transmission comes actually from Australia. We are trying to grow bigger, and I think we are definitely in the right path to get back to good professional racing. I don't know if you remember or even are aware, like in the early 90s, we had a championship that my dad did, was called Marlboro Cup, supported by the Marlboro company, of course. And we had so many professional, I mean, even drivers from outside. Allenberg, after he did his season in Formula One, and he came back to Mexico to race. We had Rod McLeod. We had many guys, mainly from Europe, that were racing in Mexico. Tommy Byrne, that he's of course very liked in the States, and the level of sponsorship and drivers that was incredible. And that's what helped me. Like, I came straight into IndyCars at 19 years old with not much experience, but because I was racing with those kinds of drivers in Mexico, that's, I think, what got me ready, and I was able to do okay, so that's more or less what we are trying to do and achieve, to get back to that level of racing, with more sponsors and good and better drivers.
When you go in search of those sponsors, as you talked about, it's very difficult no matter where you are in the world. Sponsorship is mandatory for any form of motorsport. What is it about your series and what you folks are doing right now that makes it so attractive? Or what is it that you're trying to utilize to sell to those sponsors when you sit down in those meetings?
Well, right now, what's been good is we have a very good product, a very good show. when you go to the grandstands, and because it's like you said, it's so diverse, with the Formula 5, the motorcycles, and there is something for everybody in the family, I mean, the son likes maybe the trucks, the girl the motorcycles, somebody the trucks, or the cars, or they are a fan of mine from IndyCar. So there's always something for everybody, and the races are, I mean, we had on Sunday, like the Formula 5, the bikes and the trucks are around 25-minute races, and the GTM we have two 50-minute races where we stop very quickly in the middle for the driver change. It's two drivers, so it's very easy, for the family. Even if you are not a big racing fan, it's easy to watch a 25-minute race, So I believe what's been good with the sponsors is the working on PR, inviting guests, because it's very affordable, and it's easy for them to come and say hi to the drivers and to feel part of the whole event, So that's where it's been the biggest. Soccer in Mexico, that's a big challenge, and now with the World Cup going like this year, it's soccer in Mexico is like number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, in sports, like it's like, imagine racing, competing, like if football, baseball, basketball, hockey, and everybody was the same, So that's what we compete the most. So, but I believe we are on the right path, where we are able to give a better return of investment on the sponsors for team and series sponsors. That's a challenge, but we are getting better at it.
You talk about soccer and how big it is right now in Mexico and has been for decades. Obviously, there's major soccer players who are huge stars and they become leaders within that industry. How are you accepting the fact that you've become quite possibly the leader in motorsports in Mexico, who's trying to make all of this happen? Obviously, you became a star as a driver yourself, but now you're the one who's really setting the tone for the future of motorsports in Mexico. Do you welcome that, or is it a heavy burden to bear?
Well, I don't think about that. I mean, for me, I do the way I started racing because I love being behind a car, and if when I was 12 or even 18 years old, if you had told me what I would achieve in as a driver, I would have, well, I mean, I would have not think that it could be possible. Of course, some years later, I felt a little close from winning championships and someone more races, but I was pretty lucky about my career as a driver. But now as a promoter, I believe we are this of our potential, of what we can achieve. So, for me, we are getting better. When we started back again with Super Copa, our first race, we had 7 cars. We had 10 total, but we had like some components that didn't arrive. And so the first race was 7 cars. Now we are up in the mid-20s. And we are staying right now with 8 weekends, because our big challenge also is with the tracks, with the tracks that we have and the budgets for the series and the promoters. But the responsibility, and for me, it's about the dream, about I want to Turismo Carretera for me, and the Argentinians and the Brazilians and Australians. For me, it's countries that we can compare to, and for me, is to have goals. That's my goal, to have a series and many drivers that can have a good life and good mechanics that can have a fantastic life doing this and not having to do other jobs that would pay them better somewhere else, because um so that's my aim, and it's not going to be easy, but I am sure that we are definitely on the right path.
That's great. I had a question come in from the folks at the Motorsports Management Program at Winston-Salem University up in North Carolina. They wanted to know if there's any of their students that are interested in trying to find a work within the series, how do they go about doing that?
Well, I mean, they can probably contact me. No, if the chat, I can put my email. They can email me, and let me right here. I'm going to write my email in the chat, and they can contact me, and we can chat, and depending on what they want to do, with a series or with a team to come and learn, we definitely would love to have you guys here.
That's great. As you see the series developing, how difficult is it to put on so many different divisions on one given weekend?
Well, it's not well, it is and it's not, what the mainly, like, for instance, the Formula 5, like I told you, it's a progression of a Formula V, so when we started back again with Super Copa, they already had a series there, so the group of teams that got together, and they had a race here, and they were kind of quite disorganized, so they came to us, and they already had a rule book and all that we've been working with them to improve, so it's been a progression. Same with the bikes, it's very, very similar. We have somebody that handles the Formula 5. We have a couple of guys that handle and are the contact with teams and drivers or riders in the motorcycles. With the trucks, like I told you, what we do is we have a shop where we have the 12 trucks there, and for there we have the mechanics, and we work with teams, drivers, and, well, not teams, but drivers and sponsors to have that, and that's some big work. Actually, my dad is the one that handles and is in the shop every day there. He's 75 and working harder than everybody that I know from 20s or 30s, and I'm very, very, very proud of what he does, and without him this definitely would not be possible. And the GTM, that's like any big series, it's big work, trying always to have and improve the rule book. We have a technical director. Of course, everybody complains all the time because they have to, if especially Latin countries, it's very hard, I mean, my racing in the States was, I think, the culture, when Penske Racing wins or Chip Ganassi wins, they realize, I mean, they are good and they have good budget, and it's very professional people, and they have very good drivers. And that's a challenge in Mexico, when people win, it's because they have something better. If you finish fifth, you are the best driver in the world. It's impossible for somebody else to beat you, so that, we're working on that for me, that's the main thing, on trying to work on the culture, to give also power to the teams. As an example, when the race is over, for tech inspection, we do a draw. I hate it when somebody decides, hey, I'm going to check the shocks, because when somebody decides that he's going to check the shock absorbers, you are not checking everything else, so people have doubts why they are not checking everything else. So we have a draw with, I believe it's like 13 numbers, and let's say number 1 is the fuel system, it's a whole fuel system, from the tank, the fuel pump, the lines, everything on to the fuel injection, no? Number 2 is the front suspension, everything. So we do a draw, whatever number comes in, and the teams themselves are the ones that that do the inspection. They go and check the front suspension on all the cars. So now they cannot say, hey, as a series you are helping anybody or something, and it's also a way from them to see it and see, hey, these guys are doing good. The only thing that we don't have in that draw for those 13 numbers is the engine. The engine, we have different engine manufacturers. It's very, very tight rule book. And what we do with the engine is the only way you are going to open an engine is by a protest, So you have, I don't know if you say protest, I mean like, you put your money, you put $5,000, and that gives you the right to open it. If the engine is good, the car owner keeps the money. If the engine is bad, he's disqualified, and the guy that made the protest gets his engine back. But even before that, what we have a rule where once a weekend each team can get the data from whatever team they have. So if you have a doubt about somebody engines, or even to improve as a driver, you can go and say, I want the data for the guy that was in pole position. And not once in all these years, the guy in pole position, his engine has been faster, or the guy that they have doubts or anything. We don't have engine. So even though people complain, because I think it's in their nature and they have to wake up to complain. If not, they don't feel they do nothing good that day. It's been quite good, because especially with the engine, it's very expensive to keep doing the rebuilds and all that, and I don't like it, like I said, that somebody says, or the technical director for the series, oh, I'm going to check engines, and if you just rebuild your engine the week before, you have to pay for another engine. So we try to stay away from those problems. And I believe we have to still improve the system, but it's getting better. Actually, if you remember Ralph Jose Legarza, I drove for him my last season before I went to the States, and in this weekend he's going to come as a supervisor as a racing, as a visor, also to give more credibility on both the racing, on track racing, and the technical. So yes, we're trying to improve and be more professional.
Michel, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We just have to, we have to keep the schedule on, and we would have loved to carry on for another hour with you. And then we have our next guest as lineup, and so we have to to end this session. But thank you so much for your time, for all the great work you do in Mexico. That was very important for us to have you on to share the activity in your country, and we are going to invite you back another time, Michel, for sure. And thank you very much for being with us.
Registering on ePartrade is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to ePartrade.